Okay. Hi, everyone. Last month, 2 months ago now, I made my Final Fantasy VII video, and it was great, and I loved it, and I think it's the best video I've ever made yet. But now I need to delete the project files because it's taking up a lot of space, and I need to make room for the next big jelly video. That being said, I said, hey, if you have any questions, now's your time to ask, because I plan on showcasing some cool little edits that I did. Just the edits that I feel are worthy of showing, like how I did and shit. But, yeah, anyways, I got 3 questions, so let's answer those real quickly. As you can see, I already answered them, but shut up. So Venforia asked, where'd you source your sound effects from? And as you can see, I get most of them from YouTube. For example, in the video, I used these sound effects from this game, Final Fantasy IX. So I took this video here, and I used Wondershare Uniconverter. This is the app I use. As you can see, it can convert for more than 1,000 formats. That's insane. It can compress if a video is too big for Discord. Has a screen recorder I've never used. Has a freaking DVD burner. It also has Smart Trimmer, which removes silences automatically, which is actually really useful if you're like making a podcast or something. But I mostly use it for this feature right here, the download feature. So if I were to, copy this link and then press this button right here, it'll instantly paste the link, and it'll bring up this little menu here, and it will ask me whether I want to download it as an MP3 or a video, and it'll give me resolution options, and it's really really useful. And I really like it because I can download entire playlists at once. So yeah, very, very useful. The one problem that I have with it is the pricing. As you can see, it's $80, but it's on like a little sale right now. Normally it's $100. I got Uniconverter version 13 for $80. And then when version 15 came out, 13 lost some of its core features, like being able to download shit, which really pissed me off. But because I bought the perpetual plan, it gave me a pretty sizable discount for version 15, so I paid $80 for 13 and then $30 for 15. So it's not the worst pricing plan, but just be aware that when you're buying the perpetual license, you're buying the perpetual license for the current version, and future versions will have to be purchased separately. But honestly, considering the price of like other fucking softwares, it's really not that bad. You can also pay yearly or monthly if you want. So yeah, it's not that bad. And then like 5% of the time, more like 4% of the time, I can't find a noise on YouTube, and it's normally from a video game. So I go to this website right here, sounds-resource.com. It's pretty useful. As you can see, they have a lot of sound effects. You can search it up. You'll probably find something, very useful. And then for the remaining 1% of the time I can't find it, I will go to a friend of mine who's just really talented in finding shit and won't tell me his ways because he's lame. Yeah. Kangaroo Joey asks, how'd you get so darn funny? And as you can see, I already responded. It's just a natural talent. Let's be real. Anyways, the Missing Samurai asks, how did you get your vocal range so high? My other question is, when did you start making the video? Also, did you replay the game or for the video, or did you make the video because you played the game? That's a great question. First of all, my vocal range is so wide and varied because I scream every night, and that really, loosens up my vocal cords. Anyways, actually, from this edit here,
this review may already be pretty lengthy, but much like Final Fantasy XII,
I said thesis statement written here. Recording playthrough started, scripting started. So, oh, I forgot to set it up. Whoops. So, as you can see here, on all the notes I took for my playthrough throughout the game to use in the video, the first note is, the main reason I'm making this video is because FF16 is a spectacular game that I feel is very misunderstood, and I didn't want to stop playing even after 100%ing it, and in parentheses, base game because the DLC wasn't out at the time. And along with the obvious similarities in aesthetic and tone, as well as HUD and quest and world similarities, it all just kept reminding me of 12 and why I love it so much. So I first played Final Fantasy 12 in like early 2021, like a half a year after I got my PS4. So, and it became my favorite, and I just loved it. And then fast forward years later, I get a PS5 and I get Final Fantasy 16, and I play it so much, and it kept constantly reminding me of Final Fantasy 12, and that's what inspired me to make this video, because I feel like not enough people talk about 12, right? So I recorded my playthrough because I wanted to make the video. Or you could think of it this way. I wanted to replay the game so badly that I made this video as an excuse to just replay the game. Which is really funny. But as you can see, so that was that. And as you can see here, we have the script right here in the version history, and I created it December 30th, 2023, 1:29 a.m. And a little bit later, 2 minutes later, I made the thesis statement, along with the title, FF12 is the best one, here's why, and that's obviously not what I went with. Fast forward to January 26th, I started making notes. Or actually, I made the notes, but I just linked them to the script. Fast forward to February 26th, this is when I started writing the intro. And then fast forward to, I feel like it was August? Was it August? Yeah. It was either August or July. No. Okay, wait, I remember. It was actually in April. Was it the 7th? Damn, like sometime in mid-April, late April. Yeah, April 15th is when I finished the first draft, and then these are all just revisions. So yeah, that's the story, and as you can see here, I started recording my playthrough January 8th. And another thing to keep in mind is... Oh god, I have this screenshot right here. This is the only documented evidence I have of when I started editing, but I posted to a Discord server I'm in that a little clip I was currently making on July 15th, and this is around the beginning of the video, so like maybe like a week before is when I started editing. I started editing in like late June, early July is when the editing started. But yeah, that's the timeline for you. But yeah. Those are all the questions that I was asked, but now I wish to actually get into edits that I want to just showcase because I'm really proud of them. I'm not going to be going through the entire video, just edits I think are worthy, and we're going to start with the opening bit. Also, I'm not going to play them in this video, I'm just going to, in post, I'll just add the actual clip from the exported project. So yeah.
And thus I spake unto him, my genitalia. Hark, thou hast not uploaded a tale of digital play in more than a year. Pray, explain thyself. Nay, that claim doth not hold true. He hath made films aplenty. A few out of a quinzaine, the rest speak of scrolls and tales, and of those few, one of which is not but a shadow of a film. 'Twas also a group commentary on yon secondary hostings. Please, mere child's play, 'tis not the rigorous discourse we seek. What hast thou to say in thy defense? I have been occupied, good sir. Occupied with what, pray tell? Matters. Then return to work, I say.
In all fairness, I too have long yearned for a full tale of quality that Jelly has to offer.
Fear not, good friend, for it is already in the works.
Oh, what manner of play then doth thou intend?
Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age. The 12th of the Final Fantasies? That game so oft forgotten, sandwiched between two better fare. The very one that mimics Lucas's own tales, if truth be told.
Nay, Cur, I speak of the finest tale of all. A jewel too splendid for the blind to behold. My favourite, though none speak of it, it doth surpass the tales of even 10 or 13. A work too rich for the unlearned. Aye, a masterpiece. For those who lack understanding will never know.
Hey! What the fuck are you all talking like that?
Alright, so starting off here, we got this opening bit where I'm talking to myself. First of all, I want to talk about the writing process of this a little bit. So here we have the opening bit. Obviously, it was a lot easier for me to work from the top down. So, I wrote, the normal talk first, and then I made it all Shakespearean. And this part had a lot of Googling. Like, I did not know what a quinzaine was before I wrote this bit. It was something. So anyways, that was that. But what inspired this bit specifically was a clip from Shameless Season 6. I don't know the exact episode, but I know it's in Season 6. Because that's when Carl is like, he's all gangster. If you don't know Shameless, in Season 6, one of the main characters, Carl, he basically gets involved in a gang and starts making some serious money. He's got power, he's got money, he's got fame, he's got bitches. And there's just a scene where he's talking with his friends, and they're all talking very, for lack of a better term, ghetto-y. I don't really know how else to explain it, because I am, you know, I'm a fucking sheltered little boy. But he's talking like all like that, and there are subtitles that are talking like very Shakespearean. You know, like one of the characters says bullshit, and the subtitles say poppycock. So that was just the main inspiration for this bit. In terms of actually editing, if it isn't obvious, I just, you know, I recorded this shot of me on my couch, and then after I recorded these lines in this outfit, I got up, went off frame, changed, and got into this outfit, and then I combined the two shots together, you know? So, I'm pretty sure actually this was the one I recorded first, but still. So here we have, you know, this shot here of me talking to myself on the couch, and here and I should also mention that here we have, as you can see, my phone is in my lap here, that's the microphone, and in here, in this shot, it's in my shirt pocket, so that's how I got the audio. But after I cut all these together, after I edited all of this, the audio was very, wonky, so I exported the audio separately, and then I put the WAV file into this app right here called Levelator. It looks different on Windows, but it's also on Windows. And basically it makes it so that the loudest part of your audio isn't too loud and the quietest parts aren't too quiet. It's really useful. So I did that. And obviously, just to get it out of the way, the subtitles are pretty simple. This is just literally just Times New Roman, and I just added an ever so slight drop shadow to make it stick out a bit more. And then, okay, and then we can actually get to the fun part. So originally, I was just going to crop the footage here. But you can see a problem, can't you? One, the colors are a little weird because the sun was at a different angle. And two, the cushions are, you know, not interacting too well with our separate body weights. So instead what I did was I added a draw mask in this shape so that the cushions are, you know, well lined up. And as for color, what I did was I used the match color option right here. It's right here. You click match color with this clip selected, and then you choose this clip, and then like, oh, it's gonna match the color, and then you press apply match. And then I noticed that it's still ever so slightly off, so I added a color board to just fix that. All I did with the color board was just drag down the highlights a little bit. That's pretty much all that needed to be done to make it pretty much identical. If you look closely, though, you can see where the colors like do not match, but like it's so close that like it's not even worth worrying about. As for this, this was just obviously a different shot where I'm in a different outfit. Unfortunately, the camera's out of focus, and that pisses me off that I didn't catch on to the camera being out of focus. So I added a sharpen filter, and then here I didn't want to show, you know, my room, my house. So I had a draw mask, and then I added a Gaussian blur. Make sure that the draw mask is first, because, you know, as you can see, the shape is a lot more well defined if the shape mask is last. So because the Gaussian is last, it like actually creates a blur effect. Very useful. For this, you know, it's just a continuation of the shot, but I actually forgot to record reactions for this guy, to like what this guy is saying. So what I did was, this is just a take of me looking around before I actually start saying my lines, and I just slowed it down to fit the length of this clip.
Nay, that claim doth not hold true.
So yeah, and I did it again over here, which is really stupid. And then the rest of these shots are all just like oneers, like just a single for what's the name? What's like the actual film term? You get what I'm talking about. You get it. Also, I printed out this picture of DRG, and I just, you know, I folded it so it's standing upright. I also got an index card that I folded to put in there to make it stand up right more. Yeah. And then we move on to this shot here, which is pretty much just the same principles as the last ones, except this time this is acting as the base footage. For this one, this is just a simple crop, no draw mask needed. I just cropped it, and then I did match color, and then I fucked with the color board. What did I do with this color board? I heightened the midtones. That was it. That was just all I did. Heighten the midtones. For this, did I do a color board with this one? Damn, no color board even needed. So for this one, we had a bit more of a problem here. I wanted to crop it, but as you can see, I'm sitting here, so like, you know, my hair will get clipped off by this you know, and if I had it the other way around, it would be even more annoying because I'd basically just have to rotoscope myself here, which I didn't want to do because After Effects fucking sucks. So instead what I did was I added a draw mask around some of these cushions to like get in the shading so that it doesn't look unnatural. But uh-oh, I have bad news. It still looks unnatural. So what I then did was add a shape mask. And I had the shape mask kind of like fade in the... Oh, shit, that's the actual shape. The drop-off, I dragged it in so that it would feather the shadow. So yeah, that's...
What the fuck are you all talking like that?
And then, you know, just a little punchline, and then this is just me in another outfit. So yeah, that was how I made the opening bit. You might notice that's in its own separate project, and that is because this project... This project is so big that I ran out of RAM and I had to wait until I got a new one, and then I had to open my Mac Mini, which you know they aren't really customizable, and I had to open it up and put in new RAM. So that was like a whole thing. So instead I exported this as its own MOV and just added it into this project, and as you can see, I split the timeline in half. So literally the second half of this video is its own editing project, and then what I did was I exported both of them as you know, high-res MOVs, and then I just simply slapped them together and exported that, and that's the final video. This is actually the editing project that you see. Anyways, now let's get into more edits that I want to show off. These ones are going to be a lot shorter and take a lot less time to explain, but yeah. Starting with this one right here.
Yeah, anyway, this video is about Final Fantasy XII. Throughout my entire playthrough of 16, there was one thought constantly coursing through my head, and that thought was, yeah, this really makes me want to replay 12.
What I did for this one, I just want to showcase this part. What I did here, we got, you know, footage of me exploring the hub in FF16, and here's me just walking around and talking to this Moogle, and so what I did here was, obviously, why am I brain farting? What I did here was I copy and pasted it, and then I cut it when it needed to be layered, and then here, you know, what I did was, I did a color board change? This definitely did do a color board change. Is the color board change here as well? The color board change, okay. Apparently I fucked with the colors because I didn't like how it looked. But that's irrelevant. What I did here was added a Luma keyer to get rid of pretty much everything except the color white. So that, you know, Mog, what's his name? I'm pretty sure it's just Mog, stands out. And then I added and as you can see, but there's still some remnants of these papers holding out, so I added a shape mask just to get rid of that. And that's how I did that. And then I just simply, you know, put it slightly off center so that it would layer like this. And then I just, I held the frame here. And then for the inverse text thingy, I actually forgot to open the document. Hold on. Now, normally I use actual text things in Final Cut, but in this video, sometimes it doesn't always interact well in Final Cut. So instead what I did was I have this Photoshop document that has all the texts that I would use for this like inverse edit. So here, so like this. This font is Bookman old style if you're curious. But basically I just, you know, I exported that image. I have it here. So I placed it, you know, copy and pasted this thing, and then I inverted the colors. And all you need to do to invert colors in an editing software is to heighten the shadows to max and then crush the highlights to max to invert the colors. And then I applied an image mask and applied this, and this is how we get this effect. So that's how I did that. Pretty cool, if you ask me. Next up, we have another edit I want to go over.
Anyway, Sakaguchi decides, fuck you, you spit in the face of the house I built, I'm making my own square, with blackjack and hookers. He then made a game company that made one good game that Dolphin can't run on my computer and then fell off real hard. Fuck.
So for the spitting effect thing, all I did was add a keyframe right here for the rotation and just had it tilt in, and then immediately go back to neutral to sort of give the impression of spitting, right? That's all I did there. Not that hard. And then, you know, fade in bender, because blackjack and hookers. Also, I gave the Squaresoft logo an ever so slight outline just so it sticks out more with this background. This background is from the level select of Demon Souls, by the way, just in case you're wondering. The remake on PS5. And then here with Mistwalker, I also added an outline just so it could stick out more, especially for when I layered it. And as for this footage here, this is actually just a screen recording of me playing the game on Dolphin. And I want to let you know the audio is completely unaltered here.
Game that Dolphin can't run on my computer and then fell off real hard. Fuck. And
so it was stuttering, but not to the effect I wanted it to stutter in terms of frame rate. The audio was obviously doing fantastic. So what I did here instead was I simply cut it up and I just made it slow. I believe this is 50% slow? No, it's 25% slow. So I made it 25% slow. And then here I made it, and then here I made it 10% slow. And then here I just completely froze it by pressing Shift H, which holds a frame like that. And as for this error message, I actually did purposely crash Dolphin by unplugging my controller while I was playing, just to record the noise. And then I took a screenshot of the error message. And of course I also record myself going fuck away from the mic for comedic effect. And I very carefully like studied. I crashed Dolphin over and over again and studied how the error message pops up. So what I did here was I went to the distort feature and added some keyframes so that it just looks like this. So keyframe 1 and then just keyframed it to looking natural, because that's how it looks. And then I just added a short crossfade.
fuck.
And that's how it looks when it appears. And that's how I did that edit, which I'm very proud of. The next edit is actually pretty fucking far away. So give me a second to scroll to that.
Also, there's a lot of MacGuffins in this game. After the whole party gets together, you start gathering magical doodads like it's an Easter egg hunt. First you need the Dusk Shard, then you need the Dawn Shard, then you need the Sword of Kings, then you need to get the Treaty Blade, and then you need the... I forget, but there's another thing you need.
Okay, I'm here. I found it. So first of all, for the background here, I don't know why. Why did I make it a compound clip? Oh yeah, because this image I got is like... This is what the image looks like. It's like actually like semi-transparent for some reason. So I layered it on top of itself over and over and over and over. Right? And I got here a color board to just, you know, heighten the things a bit. So I made that a compound clip, and then I copy and pasted the fuck out of it. And then eventually I made it, I also added it with a Gaussian blur, made it fade into itself. It's very messy. This was very messily done. Sloppily done. There we go. But as for the actual, like, Easter egg thing, this is just like a little impromptu animation. So here, I drew this all in Photoshop. So I just, you know, outline of the egg, and then on another layer, I just, you know, sort of sloppily colored in lines, because I just like how that aesthetic. And then here I added a crack. And, you know, cracks more. And then here I drew another shape, but I copy and pasted the crack pattern by splitting it in half with like the lasso tool. And then I just had the yolk drip out more. And I exported all those as their own separate images. And then I just have them show up for like a set amount of frames. Like that. And then what I did was I had them pop out. I had these pop out like so. But I basically took this last frame and I cropped it in half. Or actually, did I? What did I do? Yeah, I cropped it in half, and I had one half sticking out like this over here, and I had one half sticking out behind, and just had these two sandwiched in between those two halves to give the impression that it's like in the egg. And then what I did, this was the annoying part. I had this disappear, and then here's where it fades into, the background fades into being normal, not a Gaussian blur. And then I keyframed everything, shrinking, rotating, and being placed in the locations where we get them, which was really annoying. And then when I bring up, oh, you need the dusk shard, I just simply added an outline, and I did that over and over, for all these things. And then when I say I don't remember, you know, zoom out for comedic effect, because to show like how disconnected I am from this stupid MacGuffin hunt. And then I add this picture of Ash, who just looks confused in her PlayStation 2 model, because I think that looks funny. Anyways, next edit.
Although those games take place hundreds of years after this game, which is why the airships, which are said to be ancient technology in Final Fantasy Tactics, are all commonplace in Final Fantasy XII. And one of the main ways of travel is by simply going to the airport. And this brings me to the game's atmosphere and world building, which this game does in stride.
This one took way longer for me to make than I should, because I have something to confess. But first, let me take a sip of Gatorade. I have something to confess. I am self-taught in Final Cut Pro, so I do not know all the cool tricks, and I could have saved myself a lot of time with this whole mess if I wasn't stupid. So for this one, obviously here's just footage of me going to the airport in this game, and then what I did was I held a frame again with Shift H, and then I copy and pasted that, and then with that I made a draw mask, and I fucking very Why are all the effects just like outlined like that? Hello? There we go. I got a draw mask, and I very carefully masked out Vaughn. Can it show me the thing, please? Hello? Okay, I don't know why it's not showing it on this clip, but this was just a backup. After I got a draw mask, I then copy and pasted that just in case anything happened, and I can just revert to the original one. And then I also added the outline. As you can see, there are 3 draw masks here, because, you know, we have Vaughn himself, and then we have just these 2 little holes in his arms, just to like make that complete. And then what I did was really stupid, and I don't recommend you do this. I'm about to show you how to circumvent doing what I just did here. So here, I got a clip of an airship leaving from an airport, and I shrunk it down and made it a compound clip just so it can interact with the with Final Cut better. So what I did, shrunk it down to the part that I want people to see, made it a compound clip, and then I added another draw mask. And instead, what I did was I lowered the opacity, dragged it over Vaughn, and basically traced my own draw mask. Don't do that. That was a stupid decision. Very stupid decision. It wasted me 5 whole minutes, when all I could have done was simply, which is what I did for this clip here, because I learned about it real easily. And also there's just footage of me walking around on an airship. You can Control-C this clip with the draw mask, and then here you select the clip you wanna change, and you go to edit, and you look, paste attributes, and you click that, and it'll, look at that, it won't paste the clip, it'll paste the effects on the clip. That's all I had to do. It was so stupid of me to not do that. Anyways, for here, as you can see, with draw mask number 1, you can click down and see control points over here. You can get the little drop down, and you can even keyframe it. So, keyframe 1, keyframe 2. And I just animated all the keyframes, like basically exploding to basically make a full screen. And I did it because I could, because I learned that feature was a thing, and that was really cool. So that's how I did that edit. And then here I am just walking around the airport. And for this thing with stride, again, I did the invert text thing. Where is it? Just, the word stride. I exported it as its own image, did the image mask thing with the inverse colors. But then, as you can see, I added this effect called wave, and I also added keyframes and I made the keyframe 1 pretty tame, and then keyframe 2 pretty intense, so that it looks like it's walking.
Stride.
It's striding. And note that it's very important that this is before the image mask, because if I made this after the image mask, as you can see, this is how it affects that.
Stride.
It looks a little bit more wonky there, a little bit more weird, so we're going to keep it to the confines of that. So remember that the order of your filters is actually very important in Final Cut and any editing software, really.
Rapidaster is your starting town in this game, and it serves as a sort of hub as it's in the center of the world map, and your party goes there frequently throughout the story as a sort of rest spot. The city is surrounded by a huge desert, which has led to a lot of people complaining that this game is too deserty, at least in the opening hours.
For this next edit, so we have this cutscene right here, and for how I got the text to glow like this was actually really simple. Come on, load. Come on. There we go. So, what I did first was I added just a quick little draw mask to just the shape of, as you can see, the shape here of just like the text, just a basic outline. And then what I did was I added a color board, and the color board, basically I crushed the shadows and boosted the highlights because I really just want the white text to stand out. That's all I need, just this single color. So if I crushed the shadows, basically it basically gets rid of every other color color, and I just don't need it, So, what I then did was added a Luma keyer to get rid of anything that isn't white, to, make it stand out further. And then, I added an aura effect to what was remaining, so it would highlight the text like this. And then I just had that crossfade in over the unaltered footage as a way to highlight it. As for this edit, honestly, I'd say this is my personal favorite edit in the entire video. So, we got this map of Evilise. I zoomed it in to Rapidaster and the area surrounding it. And then here, what I did was, we have a compound clip, right? We have a few compound clips, I should say. We have a compound clip within a compound clip. Compound clip number 1 is the image copy and pasted, right? In here, we have a draw mask of the area that I consider to be the Wester Sand, right? And I made sure it's all curvy, and then I added this outline here to, highlight it. And I did that with then Giza Plain and the Ester Sand, right? So I have that. And then I just placed the introduction cutscenes for these areas and had it all sync up with the title appearing. The little title graphic appears and it's synced up. It really pisses... Why is Ester Sand off sync? That's actually really... That pisses me off, that Ester Sand is the one off sync. That's an editing mistake. God damn it. Whatever. And then what I did was, made that all a compound clip and had it clock transition in. So it, sweeps in like this. And boom. That's really cool. And then I got a steak sizzling sound effect to show, oh, it's really hot when I say the game is too, quote-unquote, too deserty. And here... again, we just have Photoshop. This font for 2 is Chewy, and then the deserty one is Krabby Patty, which is the SpongeBob font. So I then say, it's... and then we have a compound clip here. So when I say it's too deserty, we got... I actually just copy and pasted the thing. Well, I copy and pasted these 2 clips right here, right? And then I made that its own compound clip. And I cut it to be here. And what I did with this was, I basically treated it how I do when I do the inverse color things. So, first, instead of inversing the colors, I wanted to make it look really hot. So here we have a color board where I just fucked around with the colors until it looked very warm, deserty. I boosted the fuck out of the saturation and shit to deep fry it. And then what I did was I added an image mask for too deserty, and then I noticed, oh, that's it doesn't look as good as I think. So I added another color board to basically make it a bit brighter. And then I added a little outline just so it stands out a bit more. And then I did the wave thing. I added keyframe 1 and then keyframe 2 so that it made it just an ever so slight change with keyframe 1 and 2. So that it just looks like it's kind of waving in a heat mirage effect. Kind of like a heat wave. And that's how I did that. Now, that being said, I used Apple Motion to make a heatwave effect, and I followed a tutorial to the T. And the tutorial didn't work. So I spent like 4 hours doing that one day. I just want to say that this edit took a lot out of me one specific day because it didn't work out how I wanted it to, and I just made a quick, cheap workaround, which was unfortunate. Anyways, as for this title, I added an adjustment layer that blurs the background, and as for this title, this is from a plugin. So I just, I dragged in the title and had it say, the thing I needed it to say. But as you can see, it's at the end of the title, it like animates away. So I made it a compound clip and then cut off the end so that it would stay, so that the text would stay there until it cuts to the next shot. Bruh. Alright. So yeah, that's how I made my favorite edit in this entire video. I'm very, very, very proud of that one. Anyways, moving on to the next edit.
I like the smaller details like that. While exploring the world, you'll come across many hostile enemies, and also docile creatures as well. Of course, if you attack these docile fellows, they'll start to retaliate, but still, this all goes towards making this world feel so lived in. Sometimes you can come across a hunter in the world, and out of the kindness of his heart, he'll cast Protect on you.
So for this one, we got this footage of me just fighting a hostile enemy with a docile one around, and here, what I did was, obviously copy and paste it, and then I added instead of trying to key out the color, because that didn't work out, I added a shape mask to just, like, perfectly align and fit with the thing. And this was really annoying. So what I did, we got the shape mask, and then transforms. This will drop down here. You can keyframe it. I should probably mention that when you want to do really complex edits, you basically also gotta learn how to animate. You don't have to, learn something too crazy. You just need to learn the basics of animation, but you still gotta learn it. Please, for the love of God, learn how to keyframe. It makes life so much easier when you know how to keyframe when you're editing. So I just keyframed the shape mask to basically follow this health bar. And I just copy and pasted it and displaced it ever so slightly for each rendition. And as for this Prowler edit here, we got the Prowler sound, and, I basically have the sun. And what I did here, when you want to make a Prowler edit, it's actually really simple. You gotta... Can I stop hitting my mic by accident? You gotta basically fully desaturate it, and then you want to crush the shadows in saturation and boost the other two things. Oh, well, actually, the midtones can go wherever, it doesn't matter, as long whatever looks best for that particular image. And then for this exposure thing, for the exposure, you also want to crush the shadows to, kind of deep fry it, but, in black and white. And then I just made that, fade in with the Prowler sound.
Start to retaliate.
Because I think that's really funny. I think that's really funny. I'm Sonny V2. Anyways. Then for this hunt edit here, copy and pasted the clips as many times as I needed. And as you can see, the word hunt here is an actual text box. I didn't need to make it in Photoshop, thank God. Every single letter is just a different font. H is in the Rock Slayers font. U is in the Amori font. N is in Handwriting Dakota font, and T is in the Kingdom Hearts font. So that's all you need to know about that. But anyways, with this one, we take clip 1, which is the background, and what I did was I made it pretty much very dark by fucking with the exposure and the saturation, like so. I literally just played with these sliders until it looked like something cool, and then I added the aged film filter, and I basically boosted everything I could to the max. So max scratches and dust and hairs and grain and the color, and I made the color look kind of creepy and weird, and then I copy and pasted that. And what I did was instead of a dark background, I made it really bright. And I didn't change the aged film filter too much. And then I just image masked the thing, and then I had an adjustment layer zoom in. As for this noise though, this sound effect, the bass root. First of all, this noise was inspired by a Relax video where he was doing a tier list of Smash Bros characters based on their canonical strength, and when talking about Joker, he did a really funny sound effect. So I just tried to recreate that sound effect by listening to it over and over and over again. So what I did here, I recorded myself. I took off the pop filter off my mic, and I recorded myself doing this with my gain all the way up. I just went. That's what I did, just without my pop filter, with my gain all the way up. That's what I did. And then on top of that, we have an earring sound effect. I just have fade in. Very quick fade in though. And then, but then I noticed there's still a low hum. So I got, and since I talk about Star Wars so much in this video, I figured the lightsaber hum. So I did that, and then you combine them all together, and you get that noise.
A hunter in the world, and
it works just like that. It is movie magic. So yeah, that was that. I really like how that turned out for all the things, and also you know, whenever I wanted to copy paste it, I could just copy and paste the attributes. But also what I did was I right click this clip, and I did, what did I do? No, I right click this, maybe? I don't know, but I found a way to save these effects as like effects presets. Yeah, as you can see here, we got Hunt BG and Hunt FG, you know, background, foreground. So I saved them as their effects so that I could just drag it into them. So yeah, I did that. Anyways, moving on.
Similarly, there's a cutscene where you see this really cool place and immediately go back to Rabanastre, and I was like, damn, I really want to go there. Too bad it was probably cut out of the final product. But no! It's in the game! And it's an optional area. You can just casually visit there whenever.
So, you know, here to say, like, you immediately go back, you know, I show it's, like, within the same cutscene by simply just cutting the part where they, like, it transitions from this area to Rabanastre. I just sped that up and added a cartoon running sound effect to show, like, oh, we gotta rush back here for the sake of the plot. And then, you know, zoom out for, like, damn, you know, a little bit of comedic effect. But as for the actual funny part, you know, we got this shot, and obviously this had to be inspired by the painting Wanderer Above a Sea of Fog. First of all, I love this painting, and I love all the paintings this guy makes. This guy just makes really good paintings. Second of all, you know, we got black background, I got the color white, and I just, you know, cropped it to be at the top of this, you know, got the painting, and then we got the text, just to, like, make that meme, made that a compound clip, and then just, I make it fade in along with, they try and be quick, they try and be kite, you know, because I thought it was a really funny meme, because, let's be real, there is a masculine urge to recreate this painting. That's at all times. I like, let's not be silly. You see this painting, you're like, damn, I want to be that guy. Let's not be stupid. And then obviously I'm like, oh, too bad it's not in the real game. I got this video of a green screen glass breaking. So, you know, I just added the green screen filter.
But
and I got a glass breaking sound effect. And also, this was really weird. Actually, if I reset the parameters, as you can see, something's not right. So if I were to add the green screen effect and just leave it as it is, it looks a little weird here. So I had to stretch it to fit the screen, which was really stupid. But anyways, and then when I say then no, I simply just add the clip of me actually looking over that place, which is really cool, and then I just simply copy and pasted the glass breaking and glass breaking sound effect and reversed them both. Which was, it was super cool. I really liked that. That was also a really cool edit that I did.
Also, some gambit conditions, like the enemy being weak to a certain element, has to be purchased from a shop, which thankfully you can buy every gambit possible as soon as you unlock the ability to use gambits.
Okay, so for this edit, first we need to go over, like, the cruelty squad thing. Because it's a lot. So, this all started with footage of me actually, like, recording myself in Cruelty Squad talking to an NPC. See? This is actually me talking to an NPC. And so I cropped the parts that I needed, which were the mouth moving, and this is the clip that still has the sound effects, this mouth moving. And then I have a still frame of just this transparent box before any text appears, and I got this text box, a continuous title, and I typed out the thing I wanted it to, and I tried to make it just match the thing. the Cruelty Squad text as closely as I possibly could, which was by making it Simple Times New Roman font, but making it that like I used the eyedropper tool when changing the color. Right here is the option for like making it a different color on an eyedropper. That's how you do that. And then I just added an ever so slight drop shadow because that's how it looks. So, and I made that a compound clip. And then, as you can see, I added like the rest of this bullshit here. So we have, Holy Gorbino is that a fucking Cruelty Squad reference, and Impact font, meme font. We got the Cruelty Squad border over it. And then in between that, I put clips from Pyrocynical's video of Cruelty Squad, because this is the only video I can find of it that that specifically highlights the stock market exploit. So I got the clip from that 4-hour video where he's exploiting the stock market, like everybody does in the game. And I just added that in there and made that all a compound clip. Then what I did, when I bring it up, I, say it with me, keyframed. I keyframed specifically distortions, and basically every frame was a new keyframe. And I just made it look as ridiculous as possible. Okay, actually that was a lie. Every 2 frames is a keyframe. I was animating on 2s. But I basically just flipped it around as widely as possible, and then I had it actually be kind of normal here.
You unlock the ability.
And of course I add a vine boom with it, because that's really cool. And also I held the frame here until I finished talking about my thing. Or did I hold the frame? I held the frame of the talking thing. So yeah, I think this was the most complicated edit that I did for this video. The one that took me the most time to figure out. But it was really fun. I really liked it. And I'm glad I did it. Moving on.
Much like Final Fantasy X, you can switch out party members at any time in a fight, as long as they're not currently performing an action or being attacked.
Oh, Chris turns blue. A classic meme. Before we move on to that, though, let's see what I did here. What I did here, first, I found a shot of me fighting a boss, and all the names turn red, all right next to each other, very quickly. And then what I did, for the sake of the meme, I needed it to show that all my missed charges are up, so instead I then also got footage of all the missed charges being depleted, and I just simply cropped it, pixel perfect cropped it to look like that. And then, got an adjustment layer to zoom in and all that. And then we have the iconic video, Chris turns blue. But, it turns from blue to red, so it wouldn't make sense if he turned blue. So instead what I did was I basically just added a color board here to, just make him red. I just literally took the global color and just shifted it to red. And then I copy and pasted the normal version. Here we have the normal version of the video. And instead what I did here was, I took a green screen keyer filter. And what I did was I just applied it and I made the sample color the blue of Chris turning blue. So without this base footage here, this is what it looks like.
As long as they're not currently performing an act.
Which I think looks really funny. And then of course I just add text that's POV. And that's how I did that edit. And I'm very proud of it because it's very funny. Yeah. Good times, good times. But moving on.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Mostly because I can read your thoughts. What jobs are best for what characters?
So for this shot, this is just another shot of me actually playing Cruelty Squad. So I come up to this guy because he's just looking at me like this, all stupid and I just stood here for a while looking at him. And then for this edit here, this actually takes a lot more explaining to do. So first of all, just as the basis, we have the border here, just in case I just go over everything because it's still in the game. And then here with everything else, let's go step by step. So we have the base footage that's still here. I then have this fire green screen, and for some reason it looks like this when I green screen it. So it still has this white sheen over it, white film over it. So I then added an adjustment layer just to fuck with the colors to make it look like everything's on fire. And then as you can see, I'll explain why later, but as you can see here, I keyframed the fire to basically be moving up and shrinking as it goes on. You'll see why. Then I have these pictures of these two hands, and I keyframe them to get closer to the camera as it goes on. And then I have I copy and pasted the Cruelty Squad footage, and I made a draw mask of this guy. Then, I just had this footage of a brain. I have this GIF of a brain rotating. It had a black background, but so I just, you know, luma keyed that out, and and then I lowered the opacity. And then, you know, again, add the border over everything to cover my bases. And then we have this adjustment layer, and I keyframe that so it's slowly zooming into this guy. And here's why you can see I fucked with the fire, so that the fire looks like it's remaining stationary. That's why I did that. And then I just copy and pasted the text box thingy edit and then said,
what jobs?
Just had it repeat what I said. And then for comedic effect, you know, killed the guy. In a funny way by kicking him, because kicking people to kill them, like, just sends their bodies flinging, which is really funny in Cruelty Squad. Anyways, that's how I did that edit.
You don't have to set up your gambits so the AI does everything for you. You don't have to have gambits at all, actually. You can just input every character's commands manually if you want. Or if you do decide to have the AI do everything, you can have satisfaction knowing the AI is only doing as good of a job specifically because you designed it that way. Holy God, why did that take me like 20 tries to say that line?
The last edit for the first half of this video is this one. So here I just downloaded hackingsounds.mp3 and Fitter Happier by Radiohead. That's the noise of sound effects, because, you know, Fitter Happier is like talking about, you know, robot shit and stuff. Just, I have that. Anyways, as for what I actually did with all this shit, let's take it step by step. So what I did here, first I took the footage and I just ever so slightly darkened it with a color board, just to really highlight everything else that's going to be showing up on screen. So I did that. Then we have this video 1 hour matrix green coding thing. Added a luma keyer to that to remove the background. But, you know, all this code is like raining everywhere. Then we have the brain thing from the Cruelty Squad edit. I took that and I just placed it over Bosch. Did the same thing. And then we had the adjustment layer that I keyframed to just zoom in over Bosch. And then over that, because it wouldn't look good if it was zoomed in with the rest of the things, is this footage of me on this website called Geek Typer. So removing all this, Geek Typer is just a website where if you mash your keyboard, it'll like look like you're doing like hacking shit. So I took that footage, I sped it up so it fits in good with the time, and then I took a luma keyer to get rid of all the black so that you can see through it, and you can just all you can see is the green like text of me hacking. I then added a color board to make the green pop out more because it was kind of hard to see it. And then I added a draw mask to get rid of this eagle, this SCP logo, and then I inverted the draw mask to, you know, actually show it. And that's all I did, and I just had them crossfade in and out.
You can have satisfaction.
And that's all I did for that edit, and I really like that edit. I thought it was really funny, and that's what I did. And that's yeah. I'm gonna take a quick break from this because I've been recording for an hour, so and we still have the second half of the project to go over. But yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break, so I'm gonna end the recording and I'll start a new recording soon. So yeah, I'll see you guys in like, I don't know, a few hours. Alright, it's been like 2 hours, I'm back. Turns out I wasn't feeling too well because I was hungry and I haven't eaten in like over 24 hours, so I had some dinner, and now I'm ready to continue talking about this. So the next thing I want to go over are the audio spectrums.
By the way, this game has the best rendition of the Final Fantasy main theme. Just want to put that out there. Oh, it also has a section of the theme. And it's really-
Look at that, aren't they so pretty? I'm not going to say how I actually made the spectrums. If you want to know that, just look up Adobe After Effects audio spectrum tutorial. that's how I made it. But I want to talk about how I made it with this like whole gradient thing going on. So first of all, I made these gradients in Photoshop. So here I have my 3 reference images for the 3 gradients I made. So the first one I made after the, the Final Fantasy 12 logo, and I saved all of them here. And just real quickly, here's what it looks like, and here you can see the hexadecimal codes if you want to like copy them for anything at all. But I'm just really proud of how these gradients came out. I think they look really cool. And what the fuck what is this? What's happening there? There we go. That was cringe. So here we have another color, and the last color. So yeah, I like all of these. I think they came out really well. So there's the Final Fantasy 12 one. This one's just like gold because, you level up, experience, gold. So I got these images. They're really freaking cool. I'm just so proud of these gradients. I don't know why. I think they look really cool, personally. But that's just me, I guess. Some shit just cringeworthy. You gotta be deep, I guess. There we go. And then the last one is this like crystal blue one, because Crystal Prelude. And this one has like the weirdest looking reference image, right? So that's where I sampled the eyedropper sampled the colors from, and this is what the gradient looks like. Here again, here are the hexadecimal codes. And yeah. So yeah, I made these gradients like that. And then what I did in After Effects was I made the audio spectrum just, black and white. And then I luma keyed out the white, and I placed the gradient image below, so now it looks like that. And then I made that a compound clip, and then after I made it a compound clip, I then added another luma keyer, but this time to get rid of the black. So this way it looks like this, and I did that for all the images to make it look like how I wanted it to look like. So yeah, that's how I made those. I think they're really cool. I'm really proud of them. It's just, that's just something. Anyways, moving on to the next edit.
Also, again, because of Matsuno's departure, a lot of the character growth fell so fucking flat. There are a lot of plot threads that just drop urgency, and it turns into things just happening without consequences to the personal stakes.
So for this one, obviously we got the regular show noise. I don't think I need to tell you about that. I also got just like a metal creaking sound effect off of YouTube, and the meme metal pipe falling sound effect. But anyways, here we have a video that is at 2 times speed of Oliver. Oliver Eats an Apple. It's different. This is Gorilla Eats Shocked that he farted while eating a pepper. That's like the name of the video.
Character growth.
But like here he farted, and now he's like looking all weird, like, huh? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I farted. Gorillas are so silly. Anyways, adjustment layer to zoom in, and then the word character growth in quotes and Comic Sans to show how unserious it is in this particular manner. And then here, say it with me now, keyframes. I, again, used the distortion keyframes when this started, but this time it's different, because if I zoom out, you can see this is how I animated it to make it look like it was falling over. Instead of thinking it in terms of making the word fall over, think about the bounding box and make that fall over, because it's a lot easier for me to imagine just a flat square falling over. So this is how I animated it. And then upon hitting the ground, we got a circle transition into the next shot, and the metal pipe falling sound effect, and then this fades out. So that's how I did that. I've been using the distortion tool a lot lately. I need to stop, really. It's a problem. It's a problem. It really is. I need to stop it. But yeah, that's how I did that.
You see, in the story of Final Fantasy XII, we're basically dealing with a punished Ash. Once the princess of the great kingdom of Dalmasca, Ash's life was going on the up and up with her marriage to Nabradia's own Prince Rassler. Then Arcadia invaded and killed both her father and husband. And then she was declared dead by suicide.
So, for this one, Obviously, get the Guts theme from Berserk, because he's a punished guy. And then we have, the fire green screen, except this time it doesn't look stupid. Because, there's nothing for it to clash with on the background. And we have two pictures, one of the normal Punished Ash, and the other is of Punished Ash, but it has a color board, which is just raising the exposure all the way, so it's like pure white, and then we have a focus blur to kind of give this like outline thing going on, and then we just have, again, normal Punished Ash. And Punished Ash was also made on Photoshop. Come on, bruh. I don't know why I'm being so OCD about the order, but whatever. Anyways. Let's take a look at what I did to make Punished Ash. So, what I did, we got the image, and then I placed, Dragon Slayer behind her, because, it's awesome. It's Dragon Slayer. It's like on her back now. And then here, as you can see, I simply just took the brush tool, and I painted over her arm, and I made this little hand thingy, this little metal hand, and that was kind of fun to do, but not really. Then, what I did was Bro, I hate Photoshop, bro. I dropped tooled her skin and then made it like darker, like a darker shade, and then with a very thin brush, I painted like the first top half of the brand of Sakurai from Berserk as, punished. And then I sampled the color of her eyebrows, and then I drew on angry eyebrows because she's angry. Gave her a cigarette because it's cool. And then I drew the smoke. So, I drew like a smoke cloud, and then I lowered the opacity, and then I took the eraser tool with the hardness all the way down to give it this like fade effect. Can Photoshop please? Thank you. Then I gave her an eye patch, and then I got this hand holding a gun. I don't know why that's there. I put this hand holding a gun over her other hand, and then I added an image mask to raise the exposure to make it match her skin tone more, and that's how I made Punished Ash in Photoshop. As for this thing, this shot right here, I'm being dead serious. So obviously, Disney Channel in the background, and I just looked up like royalty-free like Disney trailer music until I just found something. But here's what I did. Ready? This is all I did. I took the saturation, the global saturation, and I just dragged that all the way up. And honestly, this doesn't look that bad, in my opinion. Like, I think that's really funny how it just like looks like that when I just did that. But yeah, that's how I did that.
Alexander O. Smith and Joseph Reeder, you two are fucking legends for deciding that the translation of this game needs to be as consistent as possible, and it being handled by only you two.
Alright, so for this one, again, we're gonna immediately go back to Photoshop, because that's why I made this little Legends book in. So for this one, this one actually did take a while. Mostly because, one, I had to find this image. This took forever to find. Just like a blank black, like, leather book, because that's just what I had in mind. And then we have this picture of Alexander O. Smith. This is like his Twitter profile picture, and then I erased, the background, and then I gave it a bevel and emboss effect by going to the effects panel like this. And then I, selected it, added a black and white filter thingy over it, and then I took Joseph Reeder. I couldn't find a cool image of him, so this is just a screenshot from the thing. And then I did, the same bevel and emboss, and then I gave him a black and white. And then I realized he looks kinda like a little, it's so dark here. So I added an exposure thing, and then I'm like, oh, that's too bright. But then if I just simply, don't do that. If I just simply drag it below the black and white, now it looks normal. So yeah, there's that. And then I copy and pasted the book, and what I did was I used select color range, and I selected the black, and then I deleted all that, so that all that's left was this like gloss, this gold shit here. And then, we add the title Legends. This is literally just gray text in Times New Roman, and then I just beveled and embossed it. And then I did this, I copy and pasted the book one last time, and I gave it a color dodge blend mode so that you can, so that this like leathery texture goes over everything else. And that's how I made this in Photoshop. Moving on to the actual edit. We got this picture of I just looked up like wood texture on Google Images. And then, here we have a Gaussian blur. And then we have the Legends book, and again, keyframed it to just basically just shrink in size. I have it way too big here, so as it like enters the background, boom, and like it lands as the thing goes out, gets back into focus. And here we have I have a whoosh effect and a heavy thud sound effect, so I just synced it up so that at the peak of the whoosh is when the thing lands. And then here I just looked up dust green screen, like dust cloud green screen, and I found dust explosion. So, you know, green screen that. And like this is like an explosion, which I didn't like, but it didn't matter because again, this book would be in front of it, so you wouldn't even be able to see that. And then for the Legends thing, we have the choir song. What is the name of the choir song? We all know the choir song, but it took me forever to find it until a friend just like DM'd it to me like, dude, I found it, and that was really funny. I will definitely find it. I'll scroll back through the DMs and find it, and I will put it in the link in the description, but for now I just don't know the name of it because I just renamed it to the choir song. Anyways, here I did the same thing. I fully raised the exposure and I added a focus blur to give it a sort of glowy outline, and then here I have green screen glowing like sun thingy, and I just crossfaded those in along with the choir song.
And it being handled by only you two. You can...
So that is how I did that edit, which I really like. I thought it was really cool. I like that edit. I thought it was cool. I don't know why I'm talking like this. You can definitely tell that like I'm in a different mindset now that I've eaten dinner.
The voices alone give so much expression and physicality to these performances. Seriously, watch any cutscene of this game and close your eyes, and I bet you can perfectly envision the characters' mannerisms along with their lines.
Okay, so for this, I took this clip right here, like literally this segment, I put it in its own project, exported that as its own thing, and then I opened an After Effects project. But because After Effects will basically crash my computer if I'm screen recording, I instead took screenshots of what I did. So what I did was add a green background, and then I double-clicked the main source footage to open its composition and use the Roto Brush tool, which you can access by pressing Alt-W, or it's just this thing right here. And then basically you draw an outline around Balthier, and then you just go through the thing. Normally it will like automatically like try and outline him for the entire clip, but every now and then it fucks up, so like you just go through each frame and just make sure there are no fuck-ups and clean it up. Like so. If you want to know more, just look up After Effects Roto Brush tutorial. That's how I did it. But yeah, so after that, you know, then export that as an MP4 or MLV or whatever. Yeah. So then here, you know, I obviously added the green screen filter, and then I added a color board to make him fully white to like show this outline thing. And then I just added the Mario 64 warp sound effect and had the source footage fade out and the green screen thing fade in to show that like what I'm saying about the silhouettes and mannerisms. And then here I just this is just the source footage, but I cropped it all the way down to this little black bar just so you can still see the subtitles to have more additional context. And that's how I did that edit.
Although this isn't my favorite aspect of the game, there's a reason I saved it for last. Frankly, this section isn't actually about side quest. Yeah, this game has side quests, there are no markers or anything like that, so it's kind of annoying to deal with, but whatever. Who cares about that? The side quests are fine. Great for world building.
Okay, so for this one,
isn't my...
you know, we just got like some fun footage from a side quest I did. And then here what I did was actually I made it a compound. I made the green screen breaking thing, and it's a compound clip. But because it was pure black there, you know, I made it a compound clip, and then I added a Luma key to this so that it would break into like the next piece of footage instead of just being a black screen. Here's where I use the Final Fantasy IX menu sounds. So for here, I made this a compound clip of me adding the quest markers symbol from Final Fantasy 16, and I motion tracked it by keyframing to this wolf here and on the minimap to show like, oh, maybe there's a quest where you have to kill this guy. And I just have it, you know, follow this guy, you know, throughout the entire clip. I just keyframed it carefully, and then I copy and pasted it twice so that when it shows up, you like know where to look. So instead, what here what I did was I added a color board just to like highlight it with a color, and then for this one I just added a shape mask to show you this, and for this one I simply just cropped it, and I just had them crossfade out just to be like, hey, look here, this is what I'm talking about, because you know they are rather small symbols.
Like that, so it's kind of annoying to deal with, but whatever.
And then I just have it zoom in. So that was a cool edit. I liked that personally. This is also really funny. I like these two memes, even though I made this one on the top right. Anyways, moving on. Last edit that I want to show you. We're there. Who thought it? Whoever thought? Whoever thought we'd be here? Actually, no. We're gonna go over another edit as well. We're gonna do 2 more edits. So this one.
Real quickly, off script, I didn't really mention it, but your summons in this game are called espers, and like they act as like temporary party members that you can freely control while they're summoned. The reasons I don't really mention them is because they suck.
This one was very interesting for me to make. Okay, so here I have a picture of all the Esper icons. And basically I copied it for every Esper, and I cropped and like made it form around a ring and had them, you know, show up one layer at a time, like so, right? And then I made that a compound clip, and then I put it in front of a green, just an image of green, made that a compound clip. Then what the fuck did I do here? Right. I added a Lumic here, got rid of the black, and then added the gradient, the FF12 gradient. And then, finally, the last compound clip, since it was just a green background, I just had to add a green effect, a green screen effect, so that to have this effect.
But your summons in this game are called espers.
It took a while for me to do this. Like, I knew what I was doing, it just took a while. It was very annoying, but I did it, whatever. I listen to music while I do it. Sometimes when you have to do an edit that's just like, you're focusing on the same like 10 seconds over and over, it's really just easy to just put on some like lo-fi chill beats and just fucking lock in and do it. But on to the last edit for real now.
But something that will always just tickle me pink are the elite hunts.
So here, we obviously got my little character still, and I always apply a draw mask to him every time because it's just a white image like this. I drew this in Illustrator in like 2 seconds, but I like to always apply a manual draw mask every time to like make the outline shape ever so slightly different, but to make it look like I'm cutting it out of a piece of paper because I really like that. Here we just have crumpled white paper video background that you can download from YouTube, but what I did was I lumicate out the white so that all that's left is the wrinkle details, so behind it would be the FF12 gradient, so you get this cool looking background. Anyways, when I say tickle be pink, I then obviously color shifted myself to be pink, added the little smile thing and the hard eyes emojis, and then I have this title saying Simped in impact font, and I keyframed it to float up, and it crossfades out the second it comes in to look like some sort of like video game effect. And of course, and this noise is the Deku Butler from Majora's Mask. I got this from Sound Resources, maybe? Yeah, I got it from Sound Resources. The Deku Butler from Majora's Mask also makes a very funny noise as well that I really like, but I could not find it for the life of me, so what I did was I literally just played Majora's Mask, and I got to that point, and I just saved a Nintendo Switch like video, and then I transferred it to this computer, and then opened up that audio in Audacity and removed the background noise, and that's how I have that audio now. But anyways, and then we have the Halo Elite sounds, and here I labeled it 240 because at 2 minutes 40 seconds is the noise that I'm specifically looking for, and then just Halo enemy images with the titles needed, and that's how I did that edit. And yeah, I feel. Is there anything else past this point that I want to talk about? No, not really. Yeah, not really. No. Yeah. So anyways. I guess if I were to do one last thing to talk about, it would be this clip.
Making this game by far my favorite Final Fantasy. At the very least, it's the best remaster when comparing it to the modern gen ports of the other Final Fantasy games.
So here, this heart image was like the reference that I had these hearts trace, and basically it's just a compound clip of these things showing up, like few frames at a time to like symmetrically draw the shape of the heart of that heart in question, and then excuse me. And then once it completes drawing the thing, wait a few more frames, and then, you know, just get the image of Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age and make a draw mask in the shape of the heart, and then put it over it. And then I just copy and paste it and have these like show up like that. That's how I did that. But anyways, for real, that's it. That's literally all I want to talk about. In terms of editing, yes, close library. Oh my freaking gosh. Anyways, but there is still some stuff I wanted to show you. The first one being the thumbnail. Why not go through a showcase of the thumbnail? Let's fucking get rid of all these, though. Lame. I don't need you in my life. You're stupid and dumb, and I don't like you. Take that. Anyways, as you can see here, I have 4 groups for the thumbnails, and that's because I made many iterations of this thumbnail. So starting off with one is the classic jelly style. I always make this thumbnail first, and if I have like a more creative one, I'll make that later. But for this one, I have an image of all different shades of beige, and I kept using a color picker and doing fill screen until I found one that was satisfactory. We have this one, we have this one, we have this one, and I found this one to be the most satisfactory because, you know, Final Fantasy, the Ivalice games in general use a lot of earth tones, so that was the idea behind that. And then here we have the transparent logo, and then I used the pen tool to make a, you know, white like paper cutout shape around it. And then I just copy and pasted that, added a little bit of a drop shadow to it, converted it to a smart object, and then, you know, layered it. And then we have, you know, my title, the 3 slashes, the outline for those 3 slashes, and that was that thumbnail. But I had an idea then. I got this image, which is, let me pull up the background image real quickly. So one of the things I love about this game is just the mere idea, the mere notions in a spectacle, and one of the huge things that inspires me is this. Come on, bro. This concept art right here. I think it looks really cool. So I took that concept art and I zoomed it in a lot because it was a very high res image, and I also needed to fit the widescreen. And then I added a you know, a Gaussian blur, and then I added this vignette around it. And basically what I did was I took the color pink, got a 0 hardness brush, made it super big, and just like gently went around the sides like this. And that's all I did. And then the original title of this video was going to be why Final Fantasy 12 is the best one, or why it's my personal favorite. So I added this text just saying yes really. And then what I did was I selected it both, and then I went to select, modify, expanded it by like a few pixels, and then on a different layer I just Shift F5 to fill with the black color to give it that outline. And then here I gave my title just a little bit of an black outer glow so it stands out more on top of my thing. And then, you know, of course, add Balthier and a little twinkle in his eye because he's like so freaking cool and epic and pretty. And then I copy and pasted that, and I decided to do another thing differently. And first I added this engagement ring, because, you know, there's that whole joke. And then here adds like a little play on She's 12 Zam joke. I thought, like, the best Final Fantasy you've never played, as like a good like clickbaity title. So I got a Final Fantasy font and I typed out it's 12. And then I did the same select expand thing, but this time I got the gradient image. I put it over it like that, and then I just I selected these two, select, modify, expand, and then Shift Command I to inverse that selection and delete everything around it to give it this outline effect. And then I just tried it again with the yes really thing, and I didn't really like how that looked, so I ended up going with this version, thumbnail version 3. So that was the thumbnail. And frankly, that's mostly it. But there's one last thing I want to talk about. In terms of my writing process and all that, I should have probably put this in the beginning of the video, but I forgot to talk about it. So yeah. But anyways, as you can see, I leave comments on myself on this Google Doc as for like editing instructions that I will later, like, you know, fully realize. And this is very useful to leave notes for yourself like this, so you have things in mind in the future. And I also have, like articles that I did, and this also brings me to research. I cite a lot of sources in this video, way more than I ever really should have, for some reason. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So like, for example, top link of further reading. I decided to share my research this time. So normally when you want to research something about like the development of a video game, you can just go to the Wikipedia article, and normally there is a section about the development. And I knew, I watched like, normally when I really like a game, I'll start watching video reviews of it, and I saw a lot of video reviews talking about how this game had a nightmare development. So I went here, I read this, got the story, right, on Wikipedia. And then really, now Wikipedia isn't the end-all be-all for research. A lot of people like to just go to the sources of Wikipedia to look like they did the research, but it makes it really obvious. People make fun of people for doing that, but it should not be discouraged. It's actually good to do this. This is like, it's a good starting point, I'll say that, right? Because you can get a lot of information just from this, right? For example, there's that quote that Sakaguchi gave. Yeah. It mentions that like Sakaguchi was like disappointed. So you go to the source, and 50, and it just says Electron Gaming Monthly number 216, page 53. That was actually false, by the way. Do I have it? Yeah, here it is. It took me forever to find. I say took me forever. So I looked up Electronic Gaming Monthly issue number 216, and lo and behold, thank God for archive.org. This is where I got a lot of information. Especially when it comes to like early 2000s game development, you're gonna find a lot of shit about that. Anyways, it was actually on page 50, and here is just a interview with Hironobu Sakaguchi. It starts here, and then on this page, it talks about Final Fantasy 12 right here, and here's the quote right here. So that's how I got that. So it's good to like look this up, but you should not cite this source, because this source is incorrect. It's not page 53, it's page 50. But obviously that's like a minor detail, but like there are a lot of misconceptions about Final Fantasy 12's development. So to further my research, what I did was I simply looked up Final Fantasy 12 development, right? And the first thing that came up was a Reddit thread talking about some myths, misconceptions, and like this was a huge thing. So like reading all of this, I then looked up more specific information about this, and it made this easier. So like, for example, Matsuno left midway during development, right? So I wanted to look up that more, so I googled, and I found, is it this one? Damn. Oh yeah, this also brings up, this is a different thing. One of these is a thing talking about Matsuno leaving. Like a quote on how he left for reasons. I think maybe it was this one. I think it was this article. Oh yeah. Right here. So like, yeah, like this was to disprove the whole like story change drastically after Matsuno's departure. It was so yeah, just like if you spend like an hour or so Googling, most of the time your research will hold up. And again, this should not be the end all be all, but Wikipedia is a good starting point. As for the merger between Squaresoft and Enix, I looked up some stuff about their history. This was a whole thing because there was a review of Final Fantasy 12 talking about the merger between Squaresoft and Enix, and it mentioned how Square was in the red ink for the first time, and it showed a picture of a news article, and unfortunately the person who made that video, Resonant Arc, decided to delete their review for some reason. I have no idea why. While I was writing the script. Thankfully though, in this video here, I literally bring that up.
Hello and welcome.
In this video, I literally bring up the Square was in the red ink thing. and I have footage here. Source Resident Arcs FF12 review for the, and he showed me this thing. So what I did was then I just looked at the screenshot and I had to like Google verbatim this thing. And sometimes when it's useful to Google, Square Enix Red Ink, and then if you look up before colon and then no spaces like 2006, it'll only show you results of things that were up before 2006. Square Soft Red Ink. And it took me a really long time to find, because I think it was this post has like a link. Yeah, here. This person, bless this person so much, because he found the original sources and I was like, oh, finally, and then this was down, damn. But MMC image source. Oh, thank the Lord, it's an Imgur link. So, and this took me a while to find, so I figured I'd just share what I found with this whole thing of further reading. So yeah, this was and also, as you can see in this fucking huge thing, we have my notes, which this is on a different Google account because I don't want this connected to like the main JellyU account that I edit with, that I like do everything on. So this is why it's called public version, and it's also missing the link to the script because I just copy and pasted it. Here we have videos I mentioned, videos I directly mentioned, and then sources is just like videos that I downloaded and used without the people's permission. Sorry, but also not sorry. Because, I credited you, and I even put your name in the corner and everything. And then we have, timestamps and stuff, and that's that. That's, anyways, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. What's my YouTube notification? Cool. That's all I wanted to talk about. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to these three for asking questions. I hope I answered them well enough, not only in the comments, but in this video. I'm glad you went on me with this little journey. I guess if there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, it would be about how long this video took to make. Because I said in the video, this video was scheduled for September, and it came out in February. And it took me over a year to make. And that was for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. 1, I overestimated myself. 2, I procrastinated. And 3, my editing software killed itself and deleted a lot of stuff. Thankfully, I didn't start editing the FF12 video when it killed itself, but I had footage in the timeline, and I was going to sort it, sort the footage, here's all the footage of me in dungeons, here's all the cutscenes, I would have sorted my footage like that, but instead, what I did was, I'll actually open it up and show you what I did. What I was left with. Instead, what I was left with was to just put all of my footage next to each other on the same fucking timeline. And notice how I have it not as the main source, and that's because I can just easily copy and paste it into the actual main project. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it took so long and everything got in the way, but thankfully I've already started editing on the next big JellyU video, and thankfully the video should be 15-ish minutes. It should not take that long, and I'm very pleased about that. I guess one last thing I want to show you is how I store the files, and this is for real the last thing I'm gonna do. So using this app called Omni Disk Sweeper, which is a godsend, we can see that the footage alone, which I store in my micro SD card that's connected to my capture card, all I did was store my actual playthrough of the game here. It was a total of 40 long ass play sessions, and then here's just a few extra things but these are all things I recorded, right? Using Omni Disk Sweeper, we can see this is 296 gigabytes. This is a 513 gigabyte as micro SD card. Has 300 gigabytes on my actual main hard drive. All the other footage, all the other shit, all the everything else, all the pictures, the audio recordings, all of that. Why is this one so much longer than the rest? Bigger than the rest. That's interesting. This is 223 gigabytes. So, you know, that's like 500 gigs for one video. It's insane. And as you can see, we got 500 gigs for the next big video. Spoilers, the next video I'm working on, I guess I'll reveal it now. It's going to be about Dark Souls Remastered. And I have all the footage just here in this folder. I want to move it. I want to free up space. Look at how little space I have, like 500 gigs on this 2 terabyte hard drive. I want to move it. I want to free up my space. So that's why I'm doing it. So yeah, that's how I stored my video files. Anyways, for real, that is all. That will be all for me. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys sometime soon. Goodbye.